I was rewatching some podcast episodes yesterday.
Of ours?
Yeah, because I needed clips from 103 for the Monterey video.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I grabbed clips exclusively from 103 because it was like completely incomprehensible.
Highlight of that trip.
So and I rewatched like the ones we did in Maine, and I fucking watched the infamous I'm kind of an innovator.
Yeah. What was it?
I'm a bit of an innovator.
What is it? So that was what you said in response. What the fuck did I say?
You were talking about
it was the foldable.
You were talking about how you're foldable. You're like, oh, that just comes with being on the bleeding edge of technology.
Yeah, I said I'm.
And I was like, I'm
an early adopter.
Yeah, oh yeah, you said it comes with being an early adopter.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm a bit of an innovator. I'm like Nikola Tesla. Yeah. And then you were like, Sylvester Stallone, bonk. You fucking...
Yeah.
You said something that made no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened.
That was a thing that happened.
It's funny because... Did you ever finish that fucking show? I didn't. I watched the first episode. I never finished it.
What, Velma? No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
You didn't spend like a weekend cuddled up under the blankies, hot chocolate, watching Velma?
No.
No,
and if that weekend does happen, have me involuntarily committed because I'm gonna kill myself.
Oh, don't worry, Chris. I'll have you euthanized.
Yeah, because either way, just put me down.
Yeah. It's like any movie ever where like the CIA kidnaps someone. You expect them to like they knock them out with like a fucking tranquilizer. I just use poison. Everyone's like, oh, he knocked him out. Chris just actually dies. I'm like,
it's
right.
like
end of movie.
Like the sleep darts in Dishonored.
Yeah.
It's like that, but you accidentally put like cyanide in it, and instead of like the guy falling over and just, I die instantly.
I can't read it. It says cyanide and sleep. I go, is the S silent in cyanide? You're like, what?
Is this cyanide's a sleep thing, right? I mean, it gives you the long sleep.
It does. You could say it's the most effective sleep agent.
Fair, you'll never wake up.
Yeah, you'll be well rested in hell. Don't take cyanide. Don't mess with cyanide. Don't even look at cyanide. You'll die.
I don't know if it's that powerful.
It's powerful enough that it takes fucking just a tiny little bit. The people used to fucking in the CIA with their glasses. You ever read about that or watch a video about that? They had their glasses and in the stem for the
They would
earpiece,
have like a pill.
It was a little pill. You'd bite the end of your glasses. So one of the guys got captured and they were making him do a fucking video. And he was like, oh, I can't read this. I need my glasses. So they handed him his glasses. He fucking bit it quick.
Oh,
and
on God?
Died. Yeah, and killed himself that way. I was like, damn. That's crazy.
Ride or die,
Like, fuck. Damn.
I don't know. I think, honestly, if I was captured and they asked me for, like, high-end, like, military secrets, I simply wouldn't do that. I would just give them the stuff they wanted.
Yeah.
I care about me more than I care about the military's secrets. That's why I will never be in that position, however.
That's why if for some reason in 5 years you tried to, they're going to look back at this and go, wait a minute.
They're like, oh, remember that time where you said that you care about you and you only and you would abandon your friend?
Yeah. Yeah.
And your other friend went, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in conclusion, Chris is a bit of a selfish dick.
Fair. That is fair. Hello and welcome to the 138th installment of the Synapse Misfire Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, joined by our other host, Jordan.
That's me, baby.
We are now in sync.
Like the band?
No, we are in sync, not
with
in
an I.
sync.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Sync. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, Jordan.
Yes, sir.
Where does this show end up? Like, we just put it places. Where are those places?
You can find this show in the places such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Puppet, Spotify, Podcast, and the RSS Feed, all linked below. There's also YouTube and the Spotify for video. And as always, contact us via email, synapsemisfire@pm.me, send your comments, questions, concerns, and death threats. We have Instagram and TikTok as well, all linked below. And I'm going to continue to shout this out until I feel like stopping. Check out our Monterey video, our biggest production to date. Pretty good. Maybe I'll throw some snippets on screen so you can see it while I'm talking about it. Go check it out. Both parts are live now.
Our biggest production to date, pretty good.
Pretty good. Air quotes, asterisks, some fucking little note at the bottom that says you may not enjoy this experience.
A big like disclaimer that's like it takes up half the frame.
Yeah.
Watching this video may cause death.
And death. And death and death and death.
And super death.
And mega death. Mega doo-doo death.
Mega death, like
it's
the
like
band.
Chunk having a different food.
Yeah,
Doo-doo death.
he shits himself to death.
Yeah. So no, go check it out though. We're okay with it.
It is
I don't want to say we're proud of it.
acceptable.
We're okay with it. It got a 65 on the test. It passed. Like by 1 point.
You know. Maybe it got like a 66.
And sits repeating.
Little bit higher than a passing grade. Just a little bit though.
Just a little bit.
Not like enough to be.
Just like I saw where this was going. Here's an extra point.
Not like enough for your. It's not good enough that your parents will put it up on the fridge. But it's like
It won't go straight in the trash can.
Yeah, like you're not gonna get held back for it.
Yeah. So in conclusion, go watch it.
It's a good advertisement.
We should be a couple of marketers. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a bit of a marketer. I'm a bit of an advertiser.
I really want to look into those laws we were talking about like just sticking shit to places and just start taking our Spotify code and just fucking slapping it everywhere.
I don't think it's illegal if no one sees you do it. But that's the case with a lot of things.
I'm gonna take an assumption, Chris. Just a brief assumption. Say the police were like, I wonder who put this Spotify code here, and then they fucking click on it. It's gonna take them to us. I don't know if you thought that far.
Yeah, but like, you know, they didn't. It doesn't necessarily mean that I put it there.
All right, we'll do it. I just gotta wear gloves. I've been fingerprinted. Okay, so I gotta wear gloves.
You're in the system.
I am in the system. Yeah. It's part of my past, man. No, it's part of going for an LTC. So or FID. I got fingerprinted twice.
You do get fingerprinted for that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm in the system, so I can't be touching these labels, man. Gotta get the pearly white gloves on. Just me walking down the street, pearly white gloves, just sticking shit places.
Like beaming white gloves.
Like the sun reflects.
And you're like creeping around.
I'm like diving behind cars, like creeping. I'm underneath cars. Someone starts the car and runs me over. Like, fuck, man, that shit hurt.
Bottom line, it can't be that bad because I see stickers everywhere.
Yeah.
They've just been randomly stuck to things.
Yeah.
So.
We'll just put on a mailing list.
Put on a mailing list? What is it, 1785?
It's easy enough to do.
Fucking.
That's his work, does it?
Give us your address.
You don't need their address. It's all in the database, brother. That's his work has that database.
Pull it up in the fucking database.
I'm pulling it up in the archive.
Well, run it through the database. Let me run an SQL query real quick.
Let me look for dumbasses who listen to podcasts. That's literally something her work can do, by the way. They got some crazy data there.
People who are stupid and also listen to podcasts?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, data is available. You can just, like, if I wanted to, I could just purchase data.
Yeah.
It's what I do with that data is up to me.
We actually have purchased data before, so we know what you're doing right now.
You, specifically.
You.
We own your
who
data.
you are.
We have your data. We have your phone number, your address, your social security number, your mom's phone number, your dad's phone number.
I already had his mom's
both of
phone
their
number, though.
addresses.
I did already have his mom's phone number. That's not one night. So, but that also came with the data. That was included in the data package.
You gotta derail my bit like that.
Yeah.
Say like, oh yeah, I fucked this particular viewer's mother.
Yep. That particular viewer is my brother. Yeah.
So that was the last episode of.
My brother doesn't listen to this. At least I hope not. Chris, what have you been up to? Last episode, you said you were pretty much a boring guy. That was like 20 minutes ago, so I don't know what's changed, but what's been going on?
Hey, you know how a few episodes ago I said, I think I'm going to dive into The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
So I purchased The Last of Us 2 because I want to wait for the remake to be cheaper again.
Yep.
Anyway, which means I haven't played that at all.
Right. What'd you get it for? Like $8?
It's $9 if you. It was $9 if you have PlayStation Plus. I'm not paying for that. So I just bought it for like $20 or whatever the un-PlayStation Plus price was.
Right.
So, you know, I guess that's worth it, right? $20.
Yeah. That's definitely a pretty steely price on it.
So I didn't play that at all. But you know what I did play, because, I probably have some kind of neurological condition that makes me repeat the same actions over and over again.
I think they call that insanity, but yeah.
Something like that. I've been playing Stardew Valley a lot again.
You restarted or did you continue where you left off?
I restarted. Because, that game is fantastic and it's worth playing a lot. So it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I could play a new game, or I could start in Stardew Valley and play that again.
Yeah.
So those are my options. So I played Stardew Valley.
It's got the Minecraft vibe to it. Like, I could do something productive, or I could dump a week into Minecraft.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Like, if I'm playing a game that I have to pay attention to, I'm not relaxing, I could play, like, Stardew Valley. I could put on a podcast or, like, some music or something and just farm and vibe for the whole time. It's a good time.
What would you say your podcast of choice is?
I've been listening to this one podcast with these two guys on it. These two just insufferable guys. They talk about, like, this one game with a cat in it all the time.
Stray?
And they talk about no, the game's not out yet. It's about like a small cat, like a diminutive feline in a large metropolitan area.
Yeah, that one.
And then they also had an entire episode last week about how they can't stand children.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that the one where they blew off the guy's question? The guy asked, like, a really heartfult question after they've asked for 100-something episodes?
I don't think they blew off the question. I think they just answered it in a much different way than maybe the person asking the question must have expected.
Yeah, they don't respect their audience at all, it doesn't seem.
No.
Their time or their effort, yeah.
These guys suck.
He's, of course, talking about the Synapse Misfire Podcast.
Yeah.
The joke writes itself.
The joke does write itself, I suppose, because we're bad.
We're like this recirculating ecosystem of just bad content.
We're like, it's like Ouroboros. It's the snake that eats itself.
Yeah, that's us.
And
I eat myself.
Do you?
Yeah.
He does. I've seen him do it.
He helped me take the rib out, actually.
He doesn't even do it that way. He takes and he bends his feet around and he sucks. He starts with his feet and then go down, and the peristalsis takes over and just sucks him down.
It's actually part of my party trick to fold myself inside out.
Yeah, and then he becomes like a flesh man. Like, he becomes inside out.
I'm the world's first true fleshlight.
We're already off to a terrible start.
We are.
But Stardew Valley, it's a fun game. Yeah. I've been working on just making money.
How come you haven't just done that in real life?
Oh, so because in real life, I haven't been left the deed to a very large farm that has no upkeep expenses, that I do all the work on. In a town where I can easily buy and sell crops, and my crops have a 100% yield, and like the seeds have a 100% yield. And also, I can go to the other side of town and go down into the mines and just get diamonds, and like put those diamonds in a magic machine that makes more diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can't like go to like the other side of town to like the beach and fish, $4,000 worth of fish.
Sounds like a you problem.
Have you been able to do any of that?
Yeah, actually last weekend.
You did all that last weekend?
That was my Saturday last weekend. It was a busy weekend.
I see.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I want to play Stardew Valley though. I want to get it booted up on the Steam Deck.
I played on the Steam Deck a little bit.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me you had an issue with it where it wouldn't boot because you had some updates, right?
Yeah, I had updates, and I was like, you know what? Fuck those updates. It's Stardew Valley. It will be fine. It was not fine. The game would not launch.
The game was like, I don't think so, Mr.
I had
Chris.
to update, and I had to fucking Stupid.
Yeah, to diddle his deck, get it going, rev it up.
I had to rev it up, let it idle for a while.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of like min-maxing type stuff, but I'm not good at min-maxing in Stardew Valley because what I've noticed about a video game, any video game, is that no matter how much time I put into a video game and how good at that game I think I am, 90% of the players will always be better than I am.
You're just a bit of a failure.
Well, because here's the thing. There's like, I watched a video of this guy. He was doing 100 days at Stardew Valley without farming. So no crops and no animals. Mm-hmm. And he had like specific goals that he wanted to meet. And in the 100 days, he just like fucking just absolutely blew out of the water like what I've done, and I've played for about the same amount of days
without farming.
Yeah, like I've been farming, and it's it's just kind of demoralizing a little bit. This guy's like, oh well, by the end of spring year 1, I've already made 1 million gold. I'm at like winter year 1, and I got like 40K. Not total, but like in the bank.
Yeah, like left over, like yeah.
I have like a 250K total though, but I can have crops and animals in that game. A lot of money.
Are they?
Yeah, I bought. I basically raced to get the top level barn and coop. And with the top level barn, you can have pigs. And the top level coop, you can have rabbits. And the rabbits are $8,000 each.
Damn.
And the pigs are $16,000 each. And you can't just build the max barn. You have to build the shit one, and then a better one, and then you can build the max one.
Yeah, so it costs a lot.
So, and it's with that and the pigs, it's like $200,000 for all that.
What do? Do you breed them and then kill them and sell them, or like what do you do? Are they just there?
So pigs, the reason they're so expensive is because, every second or every minute or something, a pig will have a chance. Oh, it's every frame. A pig has a chance, very small chance of digging up a truffle. So there's like 100% chance that a pig will dig up at least one truffle every day. And the truffles, on their own, sell for a lot of money. Or you can make them into truffle oil, which sells for even more money. So It's, if you have the perk to sell things for more money, the truffle oil is like, it's like $1,500. So, if you do that, one pig in like 10 days will pay itself off, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
no, that makes sense.
It's a lot of upfront money. I'm just a humble farmer.
Yeah, just a bit of a humble farmer.
I do like the fact though that you join this community, and within like a year you become the economy.
Yeah.
There's and as well, I don't know if this is normal for a normal thing for people to do. I have beef with specific characters.
Yeah.
I have real beef with Clint the Blacksmith. He's just a bitch. I just don't like him.
Yeah.
He's just and here's the thing too. The one person I speed run to romance and marry is Emily, because that's Clint the Blacksmith likes Emily, so I marry her just because so he can't have her. But what I think is more cruel, which I'm going to be doing once I figure out divorce, I'm going to divorce her, and then I'm never going to do any of the heart events with Clint, because if you get specific friendship with him, he will eventually, and you're not married to Emily, he will eventually ask her out, right? And I think it's far more cruel knowing the fact that she is available for this, But because the player does not like Clint, he will never gain the confidence to ask her out.
Yeah, I'd say that's far more cruel.
Which is far more cruel. And also, every time I see him, I shoot him with a slingshot.
Do you?
Yeah, I shoot him with a slingshot, and then anytime you hit him with a slingshot, he gets like a anger cloud over his head, and then you click on him, and he goes, "Ow! Why would you do that?" He's just defeated. So now, anytime I talk to him, the dialogue options I get are like, the only dialogue I get out of him is like, "Don't you have work to do?" He hates me for real.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bitch. Why is he a bitch though?
He's just a bitch. I just don't like him.
He just
I don't
sounds
like the
like
cut of his jib.
Yeah, he sounds like a bitch.
He, he complains about everything. He, in just a whimpery kind of way.
He's starting to sound like Alex.
He, he gets mad when you fucking shoot a rock at his head from a slingshot. Like,
get over it, bro.
He makes you go down into the mines for him to get stuff.
So he uses you.
Also, there's a event that will happen where he will send you a letter. It said, here.
Cease and desist.
Here, this is amethyst. Give this amethyst to Emily. It's one of her loved gifts. And tell her it's from me. Okay? I don't know if it changes depending on how many friendship points you have with Emily, but the 2 times I've done it is you give her the amethyst. She's like, "Oh, this is really good. Thank you for this." And you're like, "Oh, no, it's from Clint." And she's like, "No, I don't care if you bought it at his shop. I think it's really nice. Thank you." So he doesn't even get credit, which serves him right because just give it to her yourself, you fucking
pussy.
weirdo.
You're pussy.
Yeah, for
You're a
real.
bitch.
That's why I don't like him. That's why I think he's a bitch.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's a bitch. I have beef with this virtual blacksmith. And as soon as I do the one quest for him that gives me the geode crusher, I won't have to spend my money at his shop again.
Right.
Because I could just, aside from like the last tool upgrades, but that's it. And then, I crack all my own geodes, so he has no use to me.
Yeah, he's useless, just like he is to Emily.
For real, and what I think is even more cruel is the fact that I go there and I crack all these geodes and I get all these gems to give to Emily specifically.
So you make him labor away at cracking them just to give them to his girl.
Exactly. He's a bitch. That's why I
Definitely
don't
a
like
beta.
him.
He's definitely a beta.
He can fucking lick my boots. All right. I hate this virtual blacksmith. I hate him.
Yeah. Now you're actually making me want to play it by talking shit about him.
I hate.
I want to see
like
who the fuck this guy is and who Emily is. Like, I don't know. I might buy it because I'm looking for some quick stuff to like pick up and play.
It's one of those games that you start playing, and what I've noticed is either you're like, and you put it down, and you don't play it again, or for a while, or it's one of those games that you pick up, you're like, all right, I'll be on here like, I don't know, maybe an hour at the most, and then it's like 15 hours later, and you're like,
I need to make a baby with Emily.
Gemstones. And I just have chests full of gemstones.
You become fucking Gollum. You're like, my riches.
I become a fucking demonic entity. I become a demon. I love that game.
Yeah, I feel like that game's going to go one of two ways for me. Like you said, it's like, I'm either going to go, this is okay. Yeah, I see why people like this, but it's not for me. Or I'm going to go, holy fuck, this is for me.
I need to emphasize this a lot. The game is all the more impressive because it was made by one guy.
Yeah.
One guy made the game, and I think he made like most of the music for it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I heard it has good music too, so that's cool.
And the soundtrack's pretty good. And
are they making a sequel? Why do I remember hearing something about like a DLC or something or a sequel?
I don't know.
I feel like I heard about that.
He's making another game. He's not making a
is that
sequel.
what it is?
He's making Haunted Chocolatier, which is,
that sounds familiar.
I think, is the he described it in a weird sort of way, but it's from what I gather, it's supposed to be a very similar type game.
Right, same vein.
Just in a different sort of thing where you run a chocolate factory instead.
That's pretty cool.
Which if Concerned Ape is gonna make another game, I'm gonna buy it. He seems like a nice guy, and he is a fucking very talented developer.
Yeah.
And writer. Like it's fucking staggering how he made this game just by himself.
Yeah.
He brought in someone else to work on like multiplayer, but like in terms of the actual development of the game,
The core fundamentals
the
of
writing,
the story, and
all the systems, which are like remarkably complicated, he just made them all.
yeah.
So
Fuck, man, you make me want to play it now.
it's fun.
Yeah. You know what else is fun that I was playing? And you know who's not a bitch? Sebastian Castellanos. Do you know who that is?
No.
That is the lead character from The Evil Within. You ever played The Evil Within?
No, I haven't.
Fuck, is it so good, dude. I love The Evil Within. It's my favorite horror game.
Do you find the evil within?
You do?
Oh shit.
And you shoot it in its face.
Damn.
In its teeth, dude.
What's that one about?
So, to keep it somewhat level, somewhat reasonable for you. So, basically, you're a cop. You're a detective. And you get called to a incident at what's called Beacon Mental Hospital. It's just a hospital in Crimson City, named that. And you show up,
Right.
and you're looking at a camera, and then suddenly you kind of hear like a ringing sound, and then you look, and there's this guy just like fucking teleporting around, killing all the cops, and you're like, oh shit, that guy's kind of badass. And then he teleports behind you, and he stabs you in the eye.
He teleports behind you, and your character goes, "He's right behind me, isn't he?"
He looks dead at the camera and goes, actually, I think he's behind me. And you get like captured by him pretty much, and then you're in this like twisted world where like things are just happening. Like the fucking earth is fragmenting and breaking off into pieces. This whole city's like floating through the air and shit. Like just crazy shit happening. And it's a survival horror game akin to like a Resident Evil 4. You're fighting like infected people and shit and monsters and stuff.
I see.
Third person shooter. And it all comes basically full circle to explain that there's a system called STEM, which is basically
Oh, I know that one. Science, technology, engineering, and math.
there's a host brain that creates a world, and then the idea is to connect people to this machine and put all their consciousness together with one person kind of hosting the server, so to speak.
Oh, like the basilisk.
Never heard of it, but sure.
It's a thought experiment of like, what if one day there was an AI or like something that was so powerful it would exterminate anyone who didn't help it come into existence and didn't support it. So by hearing about it and not actively working towards developing this AI, it will lead to your death when it gets developed. It's a thought experiment.
It's a similar akin. So this isn't like an AI, this is an actual person. And through the development of the story, you find out who this person is, why their desires are to kill people who are hooked up to this system. It's not necessarily to further their goal per se. It's more like
They
revenge.
just feel like it.
It's more like revenge for what happened. Essentially, like, are you going to play it?
The game came out like 10 years ago, didn't it?
2015, I think, yeah. It was like,
So no.
all right. So basically,
If you haven't played it by now,
Get over it.
It doesn't matter.
it's a scientist named Ruben who initially lost his sister in a fire because
better
he came
find her
from a
then.
rich family and,
Better find her then. Just lost her.
lost his sister in a fire because he's from a rich family, and the town villagers basically burnt them alive in a barn, and he escaped, she died. So he engineered this system that would basically put him into his own consciousness to just live in a pseudo world with her since he didn't lose her. And there are like tones of ancestral sort of behaviors with him and his sister, so he's kind of like a little sick in his head, obviously. And what happens was this
Kind of a L, honestly.
the development of this system obviously
Skill
gets the gets the attention of the government, who's like, shit, we could use that. So they're like, hey, you're gonna develop this for us. So they get him like a partner. They start developing it, and eventually they're like, hey, you're gonna make it work this way. And he's like, no, I'm not. So they kill him, and they take his brain, and they use that as their new host server, so to speak, their mind for the STEM system, not realizing that his consciousness is still in it. So he just wakes up being like, ah, shit, they killed me. I gotta get revenge. So his goal is to basically lock down the system. That way they're forced to send people in and then kill them. Now, in the process, they send in this patient. They're doing experiments on a patient, and there's like a mental patient who is compatible with him, with his psyche. They have, I forget what they call it in the game, but it's just think of it like, I guess their brain waves are synchronized or some shit. But they're compatible. So his goal is to upload his consciousness into this person and then go back to the real world. Your character just kind of gets fucking caught in the middle of this, like, hey, I'm investigating a murder at this hospital. And it turns out that the ringing sound you heard was like the remote activation of a new version of the system that can be activated remotely without directly syncing the person to it. So you just get trapped in this world like, what the fuck is going on? So you fight your way through. You do a bunch of crazy-ass boss encounters. You fuck him up at the end. He does succeed in uploading his consciousness, or at least that's what they allude to. And you escape. You're like, I'm out of here, bro. I'm out of here. Like, that shit was wild. The second game is basically a continuation of that where they found a new host mind, and it just so happens to be your character's daughter. So they kidnap her, and you have to go back in and try to save her. So both games are fucking incredible. I think the first one's better than the second, just in the sense that I prefer how, I guess, quaint it was. Like, it was very, like, first game in a series. Like, the budget probably wasn't super crazy. It was pretty down to earth. And then the second game was, like, clearly they're like, dude, the first one was a fucking success. Make this one basically open world, like, add all these elements to it that are, like, much more complicated, full-fledged crafting systems and stuff. Like, they just expanded on it so much that it's very different. And I just prefer the more, like, linear, straightforward scope of the first game. But both games are fucking exceptional, dude. So I replayed the first one on the Steam Deck, and it was a fucking incredible experience. Obviously, it ran well, ran great. Battery life was kind of mid, surprisingly. I think that was just a skill issue.
And you know what's good with, what is good with battery life on the Steam Deck? Stardew Valley.
Yeah, and I'm sure it is. And so I played the first one, I beat it, and then I started the second one, and man, the second one is another example of why I think Steam Deck Verified is fucking stupid. Because if you try to boot it without internet, it just gets stuck at a loading screen. You need to have internet, at least to boot it. Then you can turn it off, which is fine. I can get over that. I got mobile hotspot. I pay for hotspot. It's cool. That's already one problem.
Skill issue.
And they tell you the default graphics settings will work for this because it's verified. It just defaults it to ultra. And then even on like low medium, the game runs the game runs flawlessly in hallways, which, to be fair, is a good bit of the game.
It runs flawlessly when you're not rendering anything.
So like when you're in hallways and you're doing like fights in there or like boss arenas, like fucking mint. When you're in the main town, which is called Union, which is just a town that got blown up and fragmented into different floating islands, the game, no matter what graphics settings you're on, will pop you down to like 28 frames per second. But that's verified somehow. So it's been like a not...
It runs, don't it?
It's been a not exceptional experience, the second one, but it's been okay. I was able to lock it at 30, mess with the TDP a little bit and the clock speed, and I got it to run at like a locked 30. So it's been playable, to say the least. But it's just another example of Steam Deck Verified, man. And if you haven't played The Evil Within, even though you obviously know what it's about now, there's some comic books about it. There's some good DLC for the first one. Like, it's a fucking banger series. It's got that like Japanese charm to it, to the story and shit. And man, yeah, it's just so good. It's like if you like Resident Evil, it's just that. Like, it's just more of the older Resident Evils, and it's so fucking good. I pray they make a third one, and I don't want them to use the same character either, because like the first and second one tie in like Red Dead 1 to 2 levels of tie-in, like, oh, fucking beautiful. So I don't think they can really squeak out a third one. It's like them trying to squeak out a third game with John Marston or something. Like, it just wouldn't work. Or even going back farther with the Dutch or something.
Do a third game with John Marston, but it's just zombie John Marston that you get at the end. At the end of Undead Nightmare.
Yeah, you just play as him. No, they do a third game, and you're just baby Arthur. You're like 4. You're like Jat's age in the second game.
You're like a child, and your job is to run around and infect as many people with fucking germs and diseases as possible.
That's a Red Dead 3. But so I would love to see them make another game and just use like different cast of characters, because this system has been numerous things in the main games that say like, oh, this is happening other places with other labs and stuff. So man, it would be so fucking good. I love it. I've been on a bit of a third-person shooter horror action adventure game binge, because I also was playing Dead Space 2. I had just beat the remake of 1 or whatever. So
are they gonna remake the rest of the games?
They asked the community. They put out like a poll, like, "Hey, do you want us to remake them?" And people said yes, so probably.
Well, obviously they're gonna say yes.
So it seems to be what. That's what they did. They just put out a thing that was like, "Do you want us to remake it?" And yeah, seems like people obviously voted yes for that. So
Fair.
I'm gonna play Dead Space 3. I want to see what all the hate's about. Dead Space 2 ended up being very good. I can't tell if I like it more than the first. I don't think I do. I like the more like slow horror vibe of the first game. The second one, kind of like The Evil Within, is a lot more action focused. Like the game opens up with a big ass action set piece like it's Uncharted, but it's still a fantastic game. And the deck experience, dude, maximum settings.
Deck experience.
Dude, maximum settings, 60 frames per second, locked, 7 hours battery life.
Damn.
Fucking insane how well optimized that game is,
That's fucking
dude.
crazy.
I was going nuts on that game, dude.
Playing for all 7 hours of the battery.
Dude, I played it for like 4 hours straight one day, and I was like, oh, I'm at 60% battery life. Oh, that's interesting. If I played like anything else I have on the deck for 4 hours, I would have already been plugged in 2 hours ago.
I think even Stardew Valley gives you like 6.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. It's honestly in testing, it's more like 5 or 6 hours, depending on exactly where you're at in the game. But dude, such a fantastic game. The one thing I had to get used to was it must have been using the Steam Deck joystick as like a mouse, because it was really high sensitivity, and when I would change the controller sensitivity, it didn't affect it. If I would change the mouse sensitivity, it did.
That's weird.
That was the only thing. It's not a verified game, so it's playable. It's marked playable or whatever. So that was the only weird thing, but like you get used to the aiming, it's perfectly fine. Like it was totally fine. So fucking good though. So I'm gonna play Dead Space 3. It seems like that's one of those things where like people hated it when it came out, but looking back, a lot of people were like, it wasn't that bad. It just wasn't like the first or second game.
I see.
So I plan on playing that. I just don't want to pay $20 for it. I'm waiting for it to go on sale again. It went on sale for $10 like probably 5 months ago. So I'm just waiting.
Let's give it another 5 months.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it, and then I'm gonna play Dead Space 3. That's one of my goals, and I still have to play Like a Dragon Ishin, that Yakuza Japanese samurai game that came out. I didn't end up buying it because I had Evil Within. I had started. I was like, I gotta focus on one thing. So I started playing these games. I did, however, just download Dirt Rally. I was like, I feel like that would be a really good Steam Deck experience.
Is it the newer one? Because I remember they have many series of Dirt.
Yeah, they do. The newest one is Dirt Rally 5 or Dirt 5.
Just Dirt Standard 5.
Just Dirt 5. This is
Dirt Rally.
This is Dirt Rally. This is from 2015.
Okay.
It's just one I had in my library. I was like,
but isn't the mainline series about rally racing too?
So that was the thing. It used to not be, as far as I knew, and they had a rally spinoff and a regular one, and then they were like, hey, they're getting very similar. Let's just make Dirt, and that's it.
I see.
So make Dirt 5. I want to get Dirt 5 eventually.
I think it's on Game Pass. Or
yeah.
It was.
No, it definitely was. I don't have Game Pass in the Steam Deck, sadly. R.I.P. RIP.
Just
I don't feel like booting into Windows.
Call Bill Microsoft.
Hey, Michael Microsoft.
Hey Bill, figure this out for me.
Yeah, fix this shit, bro. But yeah, I don't want to dual boot Windows. I thought about doing it, but people said it doesn't work as well as it does on like a desktop. It's like really finicky to switch back and forth. I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, it just proves that Windows isn't meant to work on things that aren't like desktops.
Yeah. So
if you don't have a keyboard and mouse, like even if you put Windows in tablet mode, it is so fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It's so terrible to use.
It really is. But yeah, Chris, you should play the Dead Space remake and 2. You really should.
I'll think about it.
You can get 2 pretty cheap, and the remake or whatever's newer, but you could also play the originals. I would recommend the remake though, because like I mentioned on a previous episode, they voiced them. So.
I am interested in playing the Dead Space remake.
It's so good, dude.
So
it's such a phenomenal game, man. It's so fucking good. I loved it. But yeah, Dead Space 2 is really good. I'm still up in the air about which one I like more. And the story was like, wow, like surprisingly compelling, man. Like very, very compelling. I think the story of Dead Space 1 might have been better, but I think personally that might only be because I played the remake first and they voiced the character. They added a couple things here and there. In the originals, I'd say 2 is probably better because like I don't care for silent protagonists. It's hard to get attached.
Protagonists are conceptually funny to me. So imagine being given like emotional dialogue and the protagonist is there like this.
Imagine if Geralt didn't say a word in the entirety of The Witcher 3.
I mean, he doesn't say a whole lot.
I guess he's much of a listener, much more of a listener.
He's not like a particularly wordy guy.
Yeah, well, he's definitely not like super wordy, but like he still interacts with people. You know, he's always asking questions, furthering his goal.
Yeah, something like that.
So.
You know, it's silent protagonists are funny, but voicing a protagonist that used to be silent can go one of two ways. It can be like terrible, or it can be pretty good.
Yeah.
Or like really good.
I think the thing that was special about Dead Space was the guy who voiced him, because in Dead Space 2 and 3 he does talk. It was just the same guy.
Like
so that was, I think, the reason it worked so well.
In Fallout 4, when they suddenly decided to voice the protagonist, previously it had always been silent.
Your guy does talk in Fallout 4?
Yeah.
Really? I don't remember that.
He talks a shit ton.
It's been years since I played it. I can't remember that.
And the voice lines just aren't what you choose. They're always like, it will give you like one word or like two words, and then you click it and it's like, sure, or like, not gonna happen. And you select sure, and he's like, fuck you.
It's not the Assassin's Creed Valhalla treatment. It's like, the line's like, yeah, let's get on the boat and go down the lake there. And he's like, get your fucking ass on that boat or I'll kill you, boy.
I'm gonna kill you instantly right now.
Yeah.
That game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, is one of those games where I feel like every enemy you fight is a complete pushover.
Yeah. They are.
So
they're cannon fodder at the end of the day.
It gives you the real Viking experience.
Yeah.
To roll up and just fucking solo an entire army, basically.
Yeah, I can't wait for the new one, Mirage. That will be...
What's that one about again?
So it's one of the guys from Valhalla. It's Basim, who was like the assassin who helped you or whatever.
Yeah.
It's about him going back to the Middle East, I believe. I don't know if it's a prequel or a sequel. I forget. But no, it's got to be a prequel because you fuck his ass up in Valhalla. So it's got to be a prequel. And you play as him, and it's like supposed to be more like the originals, where it's like not linear per se, but like a more condensed open world, more assassinating actually happening.
Oh, like there's a whole creed.
Yeah.
Of assassins.
Mm-hmm. Who assassinate.
Mm-hmm. Like, because they're like
assassins.
A creed or like a group of like assassins.
Yeah, it's like an Assassin's Creed, where you're an assassin in a creed who assassinates people.
Creed. Who assassinates people.
Yeah, people who like oppose you, like Templars, for example. Like, remember them from 40 games ago?
Yeah, from 2.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be more like that, like 2 basically, or like 1. So I'm there for it. I'm excited for it. I want to see some gameplay though.
Fair. I feel like they need to stop adding installments to that game.
I don't know. So I don't think they need to. I think the story that the game has told, like when the game was good, when it was Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed 4, it was very good. It was very unique, very good. I don't necessarily think they need to stop adding to it. I think they need to just get their shit together, you know? Like, I think they need to decide where they're taking the series and stick to that only, because the problem is they were like, oh, people seem to like this bombastic action, so let's take it all the way up to the, what the fuck was Syndicate, 1870? Fucking Jack the Ripper times? Like, let's add Jack the Ripper as a DLC. Let's add grappling hooks. Let's put it in London. And that was like, oh, cool. And then the next game, they're like, we're going to go to Egypt before the Creed was even a Creed, and it's going to be a RPG to compete with The Witcher. Like, what do you want to do? You want to compete with The Witcher, or are you making Assassin's Creed
games? That's kind of what I'm saying, is because that's where the games are going. Why don't they just make an RPG series?
Because you can't cash in on the name at that point, I suppose.
I mean, you know, it's just stupid. I just think they could have just made an RPG series, or like, you know, and then continued to make the game.
Yeah, so that's what I'm hoping Mirage is. It's supposed to be the game. And, like, the 3 projects they announced are actually genuinely very exciting.
Like, Far Cry hasn't deviated too much.
No, I mean, it kind of went full circle, if anything.
I think it's Far Cry.
Yeah.
Like, it's, when you play Far Cry, you know exactly what you're going to get. When you play Assassin's Creed, you're like, okay, I'm going to get, like, an RPG about, like, a Viking, but he can also climb things like you could in all the other Assassin's Creed.
Even though he's like a 300-pound Viking.
Which doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense even slightly.
Yeah. I also think, like, the older games had it where, like, it was like, oh, you know, this person was an assassin who went to training, and that's why they can climb. And then it just got to a point where it's like, everyone can fucking climb.
Everyone is fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it just became, like, bloated and weird. But Mirage, I'm excited for, just to be like, oh, it's like an OG experience, hopefully, if they stick to what they said. I'm very excited for the one that's supposed to be in the fucking witch trials. That
sounds very interesting.
Give me like a horror themed sort of like witch trial esque fucking Assassin's Creed. Like, I am there for it. And then the feudal Japan one, I'm just hoping that it can at least be almost as good as Ghost of Tsushima, and then I'm good with it.
It's just Ghost of Tsushima again.
Fuck, I'll play it if it comes to PC. Oh yeah. If it gets me Ghost of Tsushima on PC, they need to port that shit to PC. I want to play it so bad, but I've refused to play it on PS5 because I'm like, I know
I want to play it on the Steam Deck.
If I start playing it, it's gonna come out, and then I'm gonna have to buy it on PC to play it on the Steam Deck. Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima is like one of the best fucking Sony titles. Like, oh, it's so good, so fucking good. You should play it now that you have your PS5, actually.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
But yeah, I don't know. Salem Witch Trials and Feudal Japan sounds pretty cool. The Feudal Japan one, I hope they don't fuck up because people have been asking for that since like Assassin's Creed 4. Like, please give us.
I think it's a good environment to put like that, basically apply those rules to, because you peel back enough layers, they're all the same game.
Yeah.
If you say agnostic of like the story, like aside from the story, they're all the same game. They all work and feel and operate the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the hidden blade, or like and the climbing mechanic and the free running mechanic and whatever.
Yeah.
So
I hope they, if they do the Feudal Japan thing, I hope it kind of has a movement similar to Sekiro. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Where like you can do like a grappling hook and like yank yourself from like a building to another. Like, that'd be cool. I'd like something like that. I would definitely be there for that. So hopefully they capitalize on that.
I think it would be cool. I think it'll be all right. But like, it's an Assassin's Creed game, so it's like they're gonna do it, but it's gonna be mid.
Yeah, but I still think like a mid Feudal Japan game could be cool.
Fair.
Because there's not a lot of them. Not a lot of those sort of time periods. Just really like Ghost of Tsushima is the big one, and that did it so fucking well. So fucking well. I think that's going to be their biggest issue. Is just going to get compared to that nonstop. Because that has minor climbing mechanics, but it's all about stealth and being a badass samurai and open world shenanigans and being outnumbered but using tools and gadgets and like, yeah. And the thing it does differently is like where old Assassin's Creed games were arguably too simple, where it's like, oh, he swung at me, B X, he's dead. And the new ones are just like, oh, he swung at me, A to dodge, B, or X, just keep hitting him. The thing that Ghost of Tsushima did differently was the damage models were accurate, and it truly was, how can I manipulate my body and my sword to deflect this guy, shiv this guy, come back with a slice on this guy, use a smoke bomb to sneak around this guy. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to hit the button and the character's going to go swing. Like, no, it was like actual sword play mechanics where it was like...
It's one of those games where, how in like Valhalla, you just walk into the fray and just start murdering people.
Yeah.
It's not like that, where you have to be like, okay, how am I going to tackle this specific interaction?
Yeah, like you can pretty easily get outnumbered in Ghost of Tsushima. At some point, you can get so powerful that you can just walk in if you're good enough with the mechanics, but like you have to learn them. Like, you're not going to just pick this game up and just start sweeping the floor. Like, I'm convinced you could give Letsy's fucking 2-year-old niece an Xbox controller and she could beat Valhalla. Like, I'm convinced she could.
If you could push like 2 buttons,
you can beat the whole game. But with Ghost of Tsushima, there's a learning curve to like really understand the mechanics of the swordplay of like how you can do this, and then when you master that, you're fucking incredible. Like, it's so fun.
Well, it's like the Souls games where like you learn the game and that's how you really beat it.
Yeah, like they have different stances for the game. So like there's, okay, this is a shield enemy, I gotta switch to this stance. This is a fucking spear enemy, I gotta switch to this stance. So like you have to do that shit on the fly. You have to dodge, you have to weave, you have to fucking deflect. Like, it's so good, the combat in that game. So fucking good. So that's where I think they're gonna lack the most in the Ubisoft's interpretation of that genre or that time period is like, Ubisoft's never been particularly good with melee combat systems. They've never had one
despite
standout.
Despite the fact that that's pretty much all Assassin's Creed is.
Yeah, like they have For Honor, which is like, that was cool, but like
Wasn't
that doesn't.
game a bag of ass though?
Oh, the game was good. It was pretty good. Actually, it's still around. They still do
Really?
competitions for it and stuff. It's actually pretty fun.
Really?
It just didn't live up to like what they promised, but when does it, you know? So the game was okay, but the combat system in that one's pretty cool, but that doesn't lend itself well to a game where you get attacked by a bunch of enemies. That's very 1v1 focused. So like, unless they remake their whole formula to be like, this is Assassin's Creed and you're going to focus on 1v1s, like you can't adapt that system. So, you know, and I don't think they want to make your assassin a bitch too. So they also want to give you a little bit of that power trip. So it's a tough balance. It really is. It is truly a tough balance to like give you that, like you said, that Viking power trip, but also be like, hey, you gotta be sneaky and use gadgets. Like, it's a tough balance to like force you to play one way for, you know, canon purposes, but also give you the freedom to like, I wanna walk into this mausoleum and just slaughter everyone, you know. So.
Yeah, there's games that do the balance though. Like like the last two God of Wars were pretty good with that. We're like, okay, you're playing as like this objectively very powerful character. Let's just throw a ton of enemies at him and have them surround him. So like he has to use all of his available like, you know.
Yeah. It does it
tactics.
pretty decent. It does it pretty decent. Ghost of Tsushima does it well, where it's like I said, where like you can master the subsystems and then you can start just like slinking around, just taking everyone out wicked.
You gotta get slinky.
Yeah, you can master those subsystems and do shit like that. But yeah, I mean, it is still a tough balance. Like God of War definitely does it well. God of War combat, at least in 2018, Ragnarok opened it up a bit though, was fairly like 1 or 2 dimensional. There wasn't a ton to it. It was hack and slash. It's a hack and slash game. That's what the series was born on. So there wasn't a whole ton to it. But to your point, like the AI kind of helped give you that sort of balance.
Yeah.
You know? Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm surrounded and they're all attacking at once. They still did the game thing where it was like, oh, 1 or 2 attack at one time. But it was enough to like force you to do a certain thing, to use your abilities wisely, to call on Atreus at certain points.
Yeah.
So it definitely teetered that line of being like, oh, this is just hack and slash to like, oh no, this actually does require some skill, and especially as you up the difficulty too. And the bosses were fucking insane. In like both games, they're fucking crazy. So
yeah.
I just want the glory days of Assassin's Creed back. You know?
You know, what if they just remastered like the old ones?
They could. I mean, they did remake them or remaster them for updated systems, and that didn't go well. But they didn't do it the way they should. They did it the GTA trilogy way.
Here's the thing. I can't count on Ubisoft to do a remaster like that.
Yeah.
Like a good remaster. Because I feel like there's very few good remasters.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
There's a lot of very mediocre, fine, playable remasters, but there's not like a whole ton of really good remasters.
Now, do you mean remaster in the literal sense, like, oh, we made the graphics better, or like remaked too?
Like remakes and remasters.
Yeah, there's definitely not a ton. I mean, the Last of Us ones were good. The Dead Space one recently was obviously very good. Some of like the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, that was a fantastic one. The Uncharted Nathan Drake collection was like a remaster, but it was more of just a compilation than anything. But it was like a slight remaster to update it. That was fine. That was passable.
It was serviceable.
It was a way to play the games on a PS4. Like,
and I think that's what like most of the remaster thing is like, hey, we're gonna take the exact same game, not even really make it look that much better, and then just put it on the modern system.
Yeah, at the end of the day, remasters only work because consoles are so segregated off. Like, if like GTA is only getting remastered because new consoles are coming out. Like, if it was PC, it was released once and that was it. Like, it was done. There would be like a ray tracing update, like at some point maybe.
They do a Witcher 3 next gen update that breaks the game.
Or that. But like remasters only work just because like consoles are like. The backwards compatibility thing's not great. I mean, Xbox is really the only one that does it well. And I still am like, when I heard you could play Red Dead 1 at like, I think it's 60 frames per second at 4K, I was like, huh? Well, that might be enough alone for me to buy an Xbox, man. Fuck.
Well, I mean,
it looks so good on there.
Wasn't like the PS3 like the last one where you could play like all the games on?
Yeah, you could play PS1 and PS2 on it. Yeah.
So,
and PS4 had no backwards compatibility.
And PS5 only has it with the PS4, right?
Yeah.
So.
And then you can play with the new PlayStation Plus. Then you can play the PS2, PS1 games. That certain ones digitally downloaded, but you can stream PS3 games, which is stupid.
Well, I was gonna say I mean, the hardware is definitely there within that console, but also, it is far, far more profitable for them to do it that way.
Yeah.
It makes far more sense from a company standpoint to do it that way. Why are you keeping all your old games when you can buy the game again?
Yeah. Or in their case, buy our subscription
to play the game again.
That way they know that you're locked in it at least for a month, you know? Yeah. So instead of just putting in your old disc, you have to pay $10.99 or whatever, or $9.99, and they know they got you for $10 no matter what you do. So, or at least for that minimum. So I don't know, I mean, I just wish you could play PS3 games. Truthfully, I don't give a shit about PS1, PS2. I can emulate those. PS3, I understand why it can't, just because of the hardware. But, like, their alternative of streaming it is ass. I hate streaming games. I do.
I've not had a good experience with streaming games.
I've had a passable experience with Xbox Game Pass or whatever. But it was still, like, just occasionally it would be a problem. And I'm like, I don't like this. Like, I just want this to work, you know?
Yeah, you stream the game and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then, like, the fucking microwave is on, or there's, like, a solar flare, or, like, there's some fucking... The air pressure isn't correct, and there's, like, just a slight hiccup in your network connection, and your fucking game breaks.
Yeah.
And then you go to connect, and you're like, man, I have, like, gigabit, and for some reason, it's not fast enough.
Yeah, not possible. No, too slow. You thought, bitch. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that crazy about
I remember
streaming.
the original NVIDIA Shield portable.
I thought that was the coolest thing, dude.
I had one, and it said, okay, you can stream games from your computer as long as you have a connection of at least 5 megabits per second. And I said, sure. I have that.
I definitely have that.
I have, at the time, I think my connection was like 100 megabit. So, okay, perfect. Let me stream stuff from my computer. I stream it at 100 megabit over Wi-Fi. Can't fucking do it.
Yeah, no.
It just can't do it. I would get like the flashing bars. It's like, hey, your connection's not good enough.
Yeah.
Then what do you want from me? Then give me the real spec.
Yeah.
If I need 250 down, tell me I need 250 down.
Don't bullshit me, yeah.
Exactly.
It's like the people who played Stadia and played Red Dead 2 on there. I could not imagine playing Stadia or Red Dead 2.
Paying like $60 for fucking Red Dead 2 on Stadia.
I mean, hey, in fairness, joke's on us. They got all their money back, so.
Yeah, but they didn't get to play the game.
You could have played it for a while. It was up for like a year, you know?
I mean, they could have played it a little bit. It wouldn't be a good experience.
Yeah. I heard, though, in fairness, I heard Stadia was the better of them, which made sense as Google's infrastructure.
Yeah, but they're saying it's the better of, it's the better of the options when being given the options of, like, being shot in the face or shot in the legs,
I mean, that's a pretty big difference right there, though. Shot in the face or shot in the legs? It's like shot in the arm or shot in the leg,
Yeah, it's like, it's gonna suck either way.
Yeah. A shot in the face, it ain't gonna suck. You ain't gonna know about it. I mean, I guess you could live.
It depends. People have lived through worse things.
Yeah, I guess it depends who's shooting and if they're shooting in the right place. If it's just in the forehead, that's their problem. That's a dumb idea.
They shoot you in the forehead, it bounces right off.
I played Mafia 3. That's pretty much what happens. Yeah.
Dink. It's like it's like a bulletproof vest. The bullet goes crunches
crumples up. Oh, there was that fucking scene in Superman where he gets shot in the eye. That was so cool. It's shot in the eye, and the bullet
shot in the eye,
and fucking bounces off. That's pretty badass. I ain't even gonna lie.
That was pretty cool,
I think when he gets shot in the face, but yeah, I don't know. Game streaming is, I don't think it's the future, but it's an alternative. It sure is an alternative.
It sure is a way to play a video game.
Yeah, I mean, our new boss used it for Amazon Luna. He had no problems with it, and he only has 200 meg internet, maybe, but he hardwired it, and he was using it with his son to play a Hot Wheels game, which is a fucking racing game, which I don't know how the fuck you could play a racing game via streaming, but he did it. He definitely did it. So, and like you said, it was a way he was able to play. Like,
yeah,
that's all it was.
You certainly can play video games that way.
Yeah. So I think that we should just have more competition in the handheld space.
I see. So like a competitor to the Steam Deck, perhaps?
Yeah. I think instead of worrying about cloud streaming and fart streaming and all that, we just need better handhelds. You know?
How would you compete with the Steam Deck conceivably though?
That's the problem. Because
the Steam Deck is immediately the most versatile. Like if Microsoft made one, you're locked into Xbox. If
or
Sony
Windows
made one,
if it had both, you know.
If Sony made one, you're locked into Sony, PlayStation.
At the end of the day, it's the same reason. That's like, well, why wouldn't you just buy a PC? I guess cost aside per se, technically.
And the Switch, you're locked into Nintendo, obviously.
Which I think is the worst one you can be locked into personally, because
the only thing worth playing on the Switch is the first party games.
Yeah, like that's the only worthwhile thing. And with Sony, again, I think it comes down to game offerings. Like, because at the end of the day, the Steam Deck might be the most versatile, but if there was better game offerings on a product that's designed to be a handheld gaming device, I don't think people are going to care too substantially about the versatility. Like, I don't really know the amount of people who are like, I want the Steam Deck so I can play games and use it as a computer.
Well, I'm talking about versatility in terms of amount of games you're able to play.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, there's that, but like,
you can play games that are, you play games irrespective of the developer, and like you're not beholden to a specific ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean for sure, but you could say the same thing about iPhones. Like people still pick an ecosystem in that regard.
Fair.
It all depends on the convenience. Like I think you would get people to buy a PlayStation handheld if you were told, hey, you can play Spider-Man 2 on your PS5, hit save, walk away, pick up this device, and go pick up exactly where you left off. I think you would sell people with that. Same reason PSVR 2 is a thing. Why would you buy a PSVR 2 when you can get a Quest 2? Even though it's 3 or 2 times the price of the Quest 2, it's because, again, you have the Sony kind of backing of it, the Sony experience. They're promising all these titles and all this first-party support.
How many of those titles exist at the moment?
None yet. Well, some yet. I mean, you have Gran Turismo, which has been deemed like the best thing for VR in years, but you have Gran Turismo getting ported to VR. You got the Horizon experience, which is like a YouTuber I watched, the one I was talking about last episode. He coined it as baby's first VR game, so it's pretty good as like an entry to VR for a lot of people.
Didn't they do like a Resident Evil VR thing?
So they have Resident Evil 7, and now they have Resident Evil 4 that's coming out March 24th. That'll be VR exclusive to PSVR 2. Same thing with Resident Evil 8. Village is actually in VR right now.
Because I saw
which looks fucking sick, dude.
Of Resident Evil 8 between PSVR and PC, and I guess PC gives you a lot more freedom.
Well, that's a mod. I was gonna say they don't even have VR on the PC
so I was
version.
I was gonna say like, I saw a video of like, PSVR versus PC, and on PC, there's a part at the very beginning where you hold the baby, and you're kind of like locked into the animation on PSVR, and if it is a mod, that makes way more sense. Yeah, the guy was just like holding the baby by the head.
That's
and
funny.
Like swinging it around.
That's funny as shit. Yeah, I don't. I think that's contract or whatever. They have a contract with Sony. That's why Resident Evil 4 is coming to VR.
I see.
And only on PS5.
I see.
Which fuck, dude. Resident Evil 4 I don't care too much about because the original is on Quest 2. The remake is going to be on PSVR 2, which is cool. It's fine. I don't care too much about the graphics, but Resident Evil 8, I would love to play that in VR. Honestly, that would be so scary and so cool.
VR mommy milkers.
There you go.
That's what I want.
I want to see them make a Last of Us thing for VR. Last of Us or Spider-Man, one of the two.
Spider-Man VR sounds nauseating.
Well, did you see the VR mod someone did for first-person Spider-Man? They took Spider-Man PS4, that got ported to PC, and they didn't give you like VR hands, but they gave you the VR perspective, and it's nauseating. They also did the same thing with Mimir in God of War.
In VR,
yeah,
holy shit!
Where you get to see it from his perspective.
Like I don't get motion sick, but I would definitely that would fucking kill me.
Yeah, no,
that would kill anyone.
It's fucking rough, dude. So, anyway, that's all I got. You good? You have anything you want to touch on?
Touching on you.
Huh?
Anyway, see you later. What
Find us
platforms
on
do we
Apple
do?
Podcast, Google Podcast, Breaker, Radio Public, Spotify Podcast, and the RSS feed, all linked below. There's also YouTube and Spotify with video platforms. You can contact us via email, synapsemisfire@pmd.me, send your comments, questions, concerns, and death threats, and Instagram and TikTok, and YouTube comment section.
Jordan, we got to do another one of these.
Yeah, we do. I'm so tired.